Hey everyone, welcome back to the studio. It's Serica, and today I've got another installment of my drawing habit series. Or is it my art habit? It's my art habit series. I haven't done this in such a long time, so finally I'm back at you with this one. I've been really trying to focus on portraiture lately. I've actually done a whole bunch of drawing in my sketchbook, but I haven't recorded any of it, and I've been drawing portraits as much as possible. All of these references, they might be familiar to you. I've started using the reference Pinterest board from the Meds 100 Heads Challenge. It's a YouTube challenge that has been started by another artist, and it's quite popular. It's been around for several years. I'm not exactly following the parameters of the challenge. I'm just using the references and going at my own pace. The goal of the actual challenge is to draw 10 heads for 10 days, and by the end of the 10 days you end up drawing 100 heads. For me, I decided to just go at my own pace, so I'm just doing as many as I can in a day. It doesn't actually end up being 10 heads for a day, so some days I might draw close to 10. Some days I might only draw 1, or other days I might draw like 3. I just really like the references in the Pinterest board because they're really diverse, and there's people of all different races and ages and sizes, and there's even mythical creatures and sculptures, not just photos of people. That's why I like it. I think it provides a lot of good inspiration, so I don't have to, spend time looking for references of my own to practice off of. It's just really convenient. So this is what I've got so far. I have about 64 heads drawn already, and I am going to continue with another spread today. But before I begin drawing, I'd really like to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. And you probably know by now, but Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes with all kinds of creative pursuits. There's drawing, there's painting, there's photography and video editing, there's web development. There's just all types of creative things that you can learn on Skillshare. Personally, I have been focusing on the portraiture and figure drawing classes that they offer, and one that I really like is character illustration, drawing faces, figures, and clothing, taught by Gabriel Piccolo. And he has a very comic book, graphic, illustrative style, but even so, he builds on the important foundation skills such as practicing gesture drawing, and he teaches a lot about drawing facial expressions, and so it was really beneficial to me as someone who wants to eventually move on from drawing from reference and draw from my own imagination. So I highly recommend this class for anyone who wants to draw their own characters. If you'd like to try out Skillshare for yourself, click the link in my video description and you can get 1 month of premium membership. So for today's drawing session, the next reference picture in the challenge is this really gorgeous woman with freckles and curly hair, just really striking features, and I spent a lot of time on this first one. My process for drawing any type of head is pretty much the same. I go in with a very light touch and I draw in the basic shapes of all the features, and once I'm satisfied with where they are and I think the proportions are okay, then I go in with more detail and a heavier hand, adding in the texture, different shadows, and things like that. My main goal for practicing all of these portraits and why I'm drawing all these heads is basically I want to improve my proportions, and I want to be able to capture the likeness of whomever I'm drawing. And those are the two things that I've always struggled with in portraiture. I remember taking a drawing class a really long time ago, and the drawing teacher said that I'm really good at drawing individual facial features. It's just that I have trouble putting it all together. And I think that was her way of telling me that I really needed to work on getting my proportions right, because maybe they weren't the right size or they were spaced incorrectly. And that's really important for capturing someone's likeness. And I really do feel like I've improved in those areas from the very beginning of drawing all these heads until now. I feel like my proportions are definitely better, definitely not perfect, and I could totally improve my accuracy on that, but I feel like it's less challenging for me to get those proportions correctly right off the bat. And what's funny is I actually have a much easier time getting the proportions of these mythical creatures and these goblins. They just come so much quicker to me. I just feel like they flow right out of the pencil, and I always struggle with the more conventionally beautiful models for some reason. This next one is completely out of focus, and I am so bummed about that because I was pretty proud of it. It's not just another old dude, this is Gandalf the Grey, and I was actually really pleased with how I captured his likeness. I feel like with celebrities and very recognizable figures, it's challenging because you want to make it look like the person in some way, and I actually managed to do that with Gandalf, but you can see the picture later on more in focus, so I'm gonna speed through that a little faster. And finally, I ended this sketchbook session with another beautiful woman here, and I really struggled with the proportions because I just made her features way too big, and her features are very, very dainty. So eventually I ended up kind of accepting that this wasn't gonna be a perfect likeness of the reference photo. And that's another thing that I've learned from drawing all of these portraits, is that this is a sketchbook. It's really just for practice, and if I can't get some of them right, that's perfectly okay. This is a sketchbook after all, not a completed art book or anything like that. So that's something that I've actually really enjoyed, is letting go of perfectionism and just putting in the practice and not worrying about the results, just focusing on the process. I've really enjoyed myself today drawing these heads, and I didn't draw 10 today, but that's all right. Like I said, doing this at my own pace. Thanks so much for joining me for this practice session of portraiture, and until the next video, happy art making. I'll see you next time.